You're listening to Streetside, the Street Medicine Institute Student Coalition podcast.
Hello and welcome to Streetside, the Student Coalition podcast through the Street Medicine Institute. I'm your guest host, Michael Brennan, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Melissa Moore. And Melissa is from the East Bay of San Francisco and has a wealth of experience, is going to be sharing that with us. Melissa, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you. And Melissa, I'm gonna ask you to introduce yourself. Could you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself, and then maybe a bit about your journey, which is a very compelling journey.
Sure. It's an honor to be on this podcast. So I'm just a girl from the East Bay of San Francisco Bay Area, and I am on the board of Street Medicine Institute currently, which is amazing. My journey started in my hometown, Castro Valley, which is in the East Bay. I was born and raised there, middle class. And raised my kids there. They're adults now, and then I found myself on the streets, homeless in my hometown. I never thought that would happen, and it was a shock. And I've learned so much since that journey began and been through so much that it's been amazing. And I feel blessed to have gone through it, which sounds crazy, but I have, because it walked me into my purpose where I am today. So, like I said, born and raised my kids. They're amazing adults. And then I became homeless on the streets of Castro Valley, and then within the surrounding communities, San Leandro, Hayward. But they're all suburbs of San Francisco. We're about 15 miles south of Oakland, California. Yeah, that began in 2012, and it was a shock. And there were rough times, many rough times. And when you become homeless, you never expect that to happen to you. And you become homeless, and you have to learn everything all over again in a different type of way. You have your society. I worked all my life, had a regular life according to societal norms, and then bam, homeless and just struggling. There's a family out there on the streets, your street family. I call my tribe now. So when I refer to my tribe, I'm referring to the unhoused. They actually stepped up. These strangers stepped up and it supported me almost from the beginning. I first had to vet myself, and you get their trust. They're like, "Who are you? Are you a cop? Why are you here?" And I was like, not ready for that. I'm like, "No, I'm not a cop, and I'm here because I don't know why I'm here." Soon we became a family, and it's interesting because within the cities surrounding, in the suburbs, the circles all intertwine. And so once you're established in one place, you can establish yourself in any other area, and one person, somebody there, or you mention a name, they're like, "Oh yeah, come on in." So it's one big family. The large cities, unfortunately, are a lot different, and that type of homelessness is brutal, and I see it, and it breaks my heart. It hurts my heart. I did not experience that type of homelessness, but homelessness is homelessness, and it's all the same. It's all oppression. It's not a fun place to be, and it's all a learning experience. I pretty much established myself in the camps, and during those years, I remember hitting rock bottoms, more rock bottoms I never thought I could hit. And I remember the good times too. There were good times, when we were together. And Thanksgiving, we had Thanksgiving at camp 3 years in a row in my hometown, Castro Valley. And St. Vincent de Paul supplied the food, and we had a huge celebration of Thanksgiving in camp. And I have pictures of that. That was amazing. So it's not all doom and gloom, but it's oppression, and it's bias. The community looks at people that are unhoused just as trash, throwaways. The names that they would call us, I was amazed. I'm like, I am not that. Yeah, everybody has a backstory. Everybody does have a backstory when you're out there. Some people, generational homelessness. Some people have come from having a life. Some people just decided to stop being on the grid and just don't want to be on the grid anymore, and they had a life. But someone out there, each homeless person that you run into, that's somebody's brother, sister, mother, father, aunt, uncle, who knows? We are people. We have faces, and we are each different. We're not they, them. That's one thing that I noticed when my journey was. It was always they, them. The group, they would see a group of us standing there. Oh, there they are. Well, who are they? I'm looking around, who are they? And people would actually cross the street when we came walking down, a few of us at a time. So, and law enforcement anyone over 30 riding a bicycle with a backpack was probable cause to pull over. Incredible. I was like, that is not the law, but things like that make one that's homeless really careful and isolating. That's when you get the isolation and the just the behaviors like that, and self-medication and things like that, because we realize that nobody wants to see us, so we just disappear into wherever we're at. And then once you cross that line, I think a few years in, you cross the line where you forget what it's like to have a life, what the life used to be like, and turns into daily survival mode. That's when you have to be careful, because if you if you surrender to that completely, then you're gonna have a hard time getting out of the situation you're in. But if you don't surrender, you just go with it, but you always keep in the back of your head that I will get out of this at some point, then that's when you can move forward at some point, and somebody can come in and rescue you, well, not rescue you, but help you, pick you up and empower you out of homelessness. And that's what happened with my journey. Somewhere along the line, I'm not going to go through all the years out there, but somewhere along the line, I remember being back in Castro Lake, because I went to San Leandro, Hayward, stayed in a mobile home, not mobile home, but RV, this and that. I ended up back in Hayward, or Castro Valley, my camp, and I remember I was out of food towards the end of the month, and I called the hotline number that they had given us. I can't remember where we got the number from. And these two gentlemen arranged to meet me at Starbucks up the street to give me some food, a food card, and they were from St. Vincent de Paul. And then we got to talking, and they asked me, they said, was there more people down there? I said, yeah, there's 20 of us, Well, could you use the help? We just recently lost a camp we were sponsoring. I'm like, yes, we could desperately need the help down there. And at that point, they started doing regular camp drops each week, and I was the one in charge of dispersing the items to the people, and it brought hope. I get the chills. It brought hope, because they came in down and even helped, helped with us setting up and looked around. We gave them a tour, and they were non-judgmental. They did it with love. They did it without anything in return. Just they were genuine, and we were so not used to that. We were not used to someone they actually cared, and they weren't looking around to call the police and tell them what they found. And that became a thing, and I remember that, and it turned into a thing. They offered, they brought us Thanksgiving food to cook. We found places to cook it, and we had Thanksgiving dinners at camp 3 years in a row, and they just made it a lot more bearable, and they gave us hope. At least they gave me hope, and they gave me strength. I'm like, oh, that's right. I am still a person. I'm not, what people say, and I remembered who I was. The more I did that, the more I was remembering and getting that power back of who I was, and taking power away from what I had to surrender it to. And at that point, our camp was swept in 2019. And Castro Valley is quite a small town in the suburbs, so we were all over the local newspaper. They're pushing carts around town with all their belongings. I was like, well, yeah, we are, because where were we supposed to go? That's all we have. What do you expect us to disappear? And so I got on to social media next door, and I started advocating for my people. I'm like, well, yes, we are, but we don't have anywhere to go. And my hometown hit me with so much hate and bias. I was shocked, and I had to pull back for a couple days. I was crying. I was upset, and just I couldn't believe that my hometown would be that hateful. And then I got mad. I was like, wait a minute, you don't understand. You don't know. We are not that, And so I got back on with advocacy. I started advocating. I got back on with a assertive tone, not aggressive, but assertive, and spoke facts and answer questions. I found a little group of haters that follows me around. I love them. I call them my confused supporters. And it's great. It is great. Yeah. And I was able to turn around some people's opinions after, just being really honest with the questions they asked. Where do you go to the bathroom? Right in the bush? I'm like, no, we're not animals. We have, makeshift bathrooms, and we pack it out. And they didn't expect that. They expected me, I think, to say, well, well, what do you care? Or, just a voice of, just adamant against them. But no, I was honest, and I answered questions, and I found some supporters within the group of haters, and they turned around and they would buy us food and give it to me to send out to our camps, splinter camps now, because we were, of course, hiding from law enforcement. They were searching for us. That empowered me. I was like, wow, if I can make a difference in a couple of people in the community, then if I really wanted to, I could definitely make a difference elsewhere. And so that was my first taste of advocacy, and I realized, and I was still on a bicycle at the time, and just, kind of wandering around myself. Yeah, it was amazing. It was definitely amazing. So then that's right before COVID hit, and I have a story for that too. I don't know if you want me to keep going or.
Sure. Well, let me pause for a moment and just say I want to honor you for what you've been through. I want to say I'm so sorry that you've had to endure such hardship and such hatred from people, and the stigmas and the name calling, and it's just the dirty backside of our society, right? The attitudes towards people that are unhoused and experiencing homelessness. So just as someone who has been housed, I just want to tell you that this story that you're telling us is sacred. This is sacred ground that we're on, talking about resilience and hope and your advocacy on behalf of the people. So thank you. Yes, please keep going.
And no, that thank you for that. That you don't know how much that means to me and to other people that will be listening that are unhoused, because we don't hear that. We don't hear that. You know, it's we hear what you said, all the hate and the bias, and people are uneducated about the unhoused. They're scared of us, or they're I'm not sure, but I know it's from lack of education, education about the homelessness and about causes and roots, and they all believe that we are they, them. You can change a community's view, and you can change people's views by education, by, connection and interaction. And that's what I want, really strive for too with RISE, is more community interaction, and look, come meet your house, come meet us and talk to us. And you will see that we are not that much. Anybody can become homeless. They're a paycheck away, especially in this era. And what are you going to do if that paycheck doesn't come and you lose everything? Sure, you'll have a car at first. After you lose your place, but once that's gone, then you're going to end up in the camps on the streets. And we'll be more than happy to help you. The ones that you called, all these names, we'll guide you. We're not going to do it for you, but we'll guide you and we'll protect you until you can survive on your own. And that's what we do. That's what's in us. Not this pseudo version of what you think we are. And so that's what I try to get across. But I remember we was swept, and I started advocating really strong. And and then there was a situation with the law enforcement that shot 2 of our camp dogs in a splinter camp. They came into the camp. There was probably and these 2 dogs I just babysat the night before, and they were puppies, and they were part of our family. And they came into the splinter camp because we were trying to find places to go. And so there was, I believe, about six of us. I wasn't there, but there was about 6 people there. Just had gotten there, put up their tents like the night before, just to try to figure out where they were going to go next. The dogs were there. The sheriffs came in, guns drawn, and the dogs, of course, they're puppies, but they alerted the resident. They alerted their owners that someone was coming through the bushes. They came in through the bushes, and they started kind of trotting over and kind of barking a little bit. The cops opened fire. The police opened fire, shot the 2 dogs, and then said, "Alameda County Sheriffs, put up your gun. Put up your dogs. Alameda County Sheriff's put up your dogs." After they shot the dogs, that was a very low spot for all of us and for the community. Community became, there was, I believe, 2 people that were arrested for drugs, but everybody else was let go. The 2 dogs, one of them was killed instantly. The other one was in the bushes. They wouldn't let anybody go to the dogs to comfort them. The animal control was up top, along with half the department, and they would not let the animal control come down and get that animal before they processed everybody there. So that dog ended up dying at the animal shelter. Which he could have been saved. Yeah, at that point, I demanded accountability and transparency from the Alameda County Sheriffs. I went on their webpage, I went on social media, everywhere. And I still to this day have never heard an answer back from them. The community, of course, they did, it was all about the drugs and all about this and about the whole, nobody, there was a few people that said, well, those poor dogs. Oh, thank you. Yeah, at least somebody realizes it was about the dogs. It wasn't about anything else. That was our fur babies. So that was in late 2019. Then in beginning of 2020, I met through advocating social media, a couple of women that were going to have a course. They knew a professor was going to have a course on homelessness and this and that, and they wanted me to join. Then COVID hit. So we had put that off, but there were still the 3 of us that didn't know what to do, and they really wanted to start doing something also. COVID hit, so we formed a grassroots advocacy group called East Bay Homebridge Connect, and we started writing letters to the governor because we heard about safer ground hotels opening for, to move the unhoused into hotels while this, nobody knew anything about this pandemic. It was crazy in the beginning, as everybody knows. I was the one on the bicycle, so I made a county contact at that point, and he was the one overseeing the COVID response. And so on my bicycle, I would go to camp. I would meet him at camps. He would be all dressed in his almost like biohazard suit, and he would have me out PPE gear. I would ride my bicycles through camp, giving out the gear, the masks, the sanitizer, and tell everybody stay put. Everybody was in a panic. I was in a panic. I didn't know anything either, except for what I was being told. And when I ride through camp, I'd hand out all this stuff. Like, are we going to die? What's going to happen? What's going on out in the outside world? Because they were told to stay in, we were all told to stay, shelter in place. They were sheltering in place. That's their shelter. So I was the one bringing news to them, and I didn't have any news. I was just trying to reassure them, no, we're fine. We're not going to die. In my back of my mind, I'm like, I don't know if we're going to die or not. So I did that for a while, and I was allowed to be on the county meeting. Meet weekly with all the service providers to triage and kind of like figure out what to do next. Safer ground hotels open, we started moving people into them. Isolation hotels started opening, and I would tell the county where the breakouts were happening or where I seen sick people at, and they would send out the service providers. And I did that for a while, and I remember we had a camp. There was a camp in April of 2020 that was swept by the Hayward police. And I called my county contact because I had 12 people standing. We're standing on the street on Grove Way. Nobody else is around because everybody's still in their houses. We're standing there. I'm looking around. I'm like, oh, boy. They had nothing left. And I called the county contact and I said, I have a problem. There's 12 of us standing on the street because Hayward just swept the camp and we don't know what to do. And he was beyond mad. He cussed the first time I ever heard him cuss. This is a county official runs the Zoom meetings. I was like, whoa. He goes, I'll call you right back. I said, okay. He called me right back, and a few minutes later, he called me back and told me to stage them over at the park nearby, and he'll get back to me. I looked at him, I said, I guess we're supposed to move to the park nearby. I don't know what else we're supposed to do. So we sat there all day, and all of a sudden he called me back, and he said, you will be put up in the Comfort Inn in Castro Valley Hotel, and then we'll get you, some nonprofits to come in and do assessments, and we'll get you guys, places to go, and that's not acceptable. The chief of the Hayward Fire Department came in and paid for the rooms with his credit card.
Oh.
I was amazed.
That's so sweet.
So what was kind of funny. This is a quick funny part. We got to the hotel. So everybody that came, I have this whole caravan of people on bicycles and shopping carts and carts and this and that, walk dogs, pets, animals behind me. We're all walking there, and we get there and I said, told everybody wait outside. I walked in and this lady at the desk, she had this look on her face of just sheer like deer in the headlight look like. I said, I'm here for the rooms, and she goes, she really fast, did whatever she needed to do because she didn't want nothing to do with me. And she passed me a whole bunch of keys. I was like, okay. She goes, you're on the second floor. I'm like, okay. So I realized that I can't have them all come in at one time. So I'm like, walked back out and I said, there was 6 of you and your stuff or whatever it was. Come on in, get in the elevator, just go upstairs, second floor, don't say anything. Don't look at anybody. So I had this parade for about the next 10 minutes of just animals, cars, people, bicycles. And she just, each time she opened the door, she just looked, and her jaw at the end of however long it took us to get upstairs, it was on the floor. I looked at her, I was like, okay, we're fine now, thank you. And I waved and I went upstairs with them. She was just, I could only imagine what was going through her head at that moment.
Invasion of the comfort.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. It must have been a sight to see. And I look back at it now and I laugh, but at the time, I was just trying to get everybody in there as fast as I could. So we had the whole second floor, and I was put in charge. I didn't sign up for that. I was just trying to alert everybody. So it was an interesting 10 days. We got everybody into the safer ground hotels or into interim housing at that point. So that was a huge victory. And one last thing. The Hayward Fire Department came down into the parking lot of the Comfort Inn to test everybody, COVID test everybody. Yeah. And nobody told the clerk that they were coming in, so we took over the whole parking lot. And she wasn't happy about that. I said, I don't know. You need to talk to the city. I'm just here. And, of course, I had to go first. Nobody wanted to be tested. I said, I will go first and show you it's no big deal. That's when they were testing and putting them all the way up to your brain, it seemed like. I had to sit there with a straight face. Yeah, and so everybody got tested. But that was it. That was when I realized that, you know what? Okay, so being a voice is helping, and we moved these people into housing. And so at that point, one of the service providers noticed what I was doing, and she noticed me on the meetings. She came to me and offered, she said, we have a position that's open right now in our street medicine team and doing exactly what you're doing. And by the way, I love what you're doing, and would you be interested? And at first, I wasn't looking for a job. At first, I'm like, well, I'll get back to you. And I started talking to my people about it, and they're like, what do you mean? Should you take it? What do you mean? Why are you questioning? Because I wasn't going to take it at first. They're like, and then my family, my brother and my daughter who live in that's the extent of my family. They're like, people are losing their jobs right now, and you're being offered one. Are you crazy? I said, okay, I'll take it. So that's when I started. I was on the street medicine team and became a community health worker, and I'm glad I did because that was an amazing experience. In fact, that year of COVID, I got a job, a car, and I finally got housed. My Section 8 came through. So,
fantastic.
Yeah, well, it's silver lining of all this, depression and death and sorrow, and I'm getting blessed. It was such a different feeling, and so yeah, I became the street health, community health outreach worker on the street medicine team in our area, and one of the first in our area too. So that was exciting. And I didn't know anything about street medicine. I was like, street medicine, okay. Because we didn't have outreach in camp. I can't say we didn't have it. We had maybe once every 6 months, a nurse and a worker, whatever she was, would come through and hand out a bag of, no, not even food, just water, and she would just kind of get that, do an assessment of the basic health of us. And a couple of us, inhalers maybe for a couple of us. That was extended street medicine. Back when I was in camp, we didn't have anybody come through, no outreach, no nothing. And so now, henceforward, I'm on the street medicine team. They just started getting them put in place in Alameda County, and amazing what we offered. We could go into camp. Now, me having lived experience would be the bridge. I would be able to go in and they would know me, so they're already vetted, they're already like, okay. I'm like, yeah, talk to them, they're fine. There's no big deal. No big deal, and you can trust them. So that trust with a community health outreach worker with lived experience is huge. That is a asset, to have someone with lived experience being your CHW. Yeah, we built bridges, and we got people moved. We got people better. We got people diagnosed. A lot of times, though, unfortunately, it was too late. Whatever they had was progressed to a point. We were able to get them into, at least somewhere comfortable. But then plus we had also safety net services, and we were able to get into the housing system in California and enroll people in the CEA and start getting them ready for housing. Just a whole different world for me, because from camp, when there was no services, to me being able to offer these services to my people, and a whole different, actually, also double-edged sword, because there were boundaries because of HIPAA, PHI, and all that stuff, and I knew I couldn't say anything. I had to watch what I say, so I had to be cognizant of that. And my teammates were always watching me, telling if I crossed the line a little bit, if I asked people, well, where is such and such? You can't ask that, because you can't mention names. So I was learning from my team; they were learning from me. And it was it was great, because it was a give and take. They would learn. I taught them the streets, and they taught me kind of boundaries and different ways to go about things, and it definitely worked. And we made huge differences. And I couldn't be more blessed to have had that experience. And by the way, I am a trained medical assistant. I did go to medical assisting school in 1990 when my kids were younger. But, of course, they were younger, so I didn't go to work full-time. So I did have that medical background as far as terminology, things like that, so I could decipher what people were saying. Like, if somebody went to the hospital, I'd go with them, and the doctors would be talking, they're like, what are they saying? And I'd translate to tell them what they were saying. So I did have that background, medical background. But it was definitely, I loved the people I worked with, and we made a lot of difference. But people were still dying. People were still dying. My friends, my people, my tribe, and that's something that continues to stay. I did have one of my high school friends, rest his soul, out there in camp with me, and he got diagnosed with cancer. He waited a long time before he went in. He had a big old tumor on his neck, and we kept telling him to go into the hospital. He did, and he had cancer. And so I walked him through his cancer journey, and it inspired me, or he inspired me. We both inspired each other, but he inspired me to push forward, because I always wanted to open my own street outreach nonprofit. And I didn't believe in myself, I guess, as much as I should have. He believed in me. And, I think it was about 6 months before he passed. He heard a new band that was put together with old school members. It's called Rise, with Nikki Sixx, and just a rock band. They put out a song named called Skin, and I remember him running up to me. I had a vehicle at the time. I just got in a vehicle, Durango, and he ran up to me. He goes, you got to hear this song. It's a beautiful song. And we started listening to it. We both were crying in Durango. Just tears everywhere. People looking at us like, what is wrong with them? And then the next song came on. It's called Rise. It was a catchy song. It was definitely a rock song, but it got you pumped up, and it was about advocating and about standing up for people and standing up for people that don't have a voice, and just moving forward. And I was like, did you hear that song? He goes, I did, Girl One. He used to call me Girl One. He goes, I did, Girl One, and that's our song. That's the song that you're going to use when you start your outreach program that you want to do, and it's going to be successful, and God's got you, and that's your song. And I was like, yeah, that is my song. And so, months went past, he passed away, and months passed after that. And then I finally started thinking about it, and I was like, I really do need to do this. It's in my heart. So I gave my workers, my employer, good 3 months advance notice I was leaving. And I opened my own nonprofit called Rise in honor of him. And not too many people know it's in honor of him, but he knows. And he's shining down, looking at me. And it stands for Rising and Self-Empowerment. So that's what I'm trying to do now out there is empower my tribe, empower them into being self-sufficient, into remembering who they are, and to rely on themselves, because they have that in them. You forget when you're out there. You give your power to the streets. You're just done. You're just done. Everybody so many times there's only so much that you can be called negatively. It just settles in. You're like, oh, must be a piece of junk. Oh, must be this. Or, there's nothing more than this. It's too hard to take a step out of here. Every day's a survival mode. That's true, but it's not true, And so we try to go out there, and everybody that volunteers for Rise has lived experience also. So we go out there with our experience and the people we know or don't know, and we try to empower them to remember who they are and get that back, that spirit back, the hope back. And faith, my foundation is faith that I go out there on because I'm very spiritual. I believe in God, but I know that everybody's got their own higher power, or sometimes some people don't. Faith is universal. It brings hope and positivity. It doesn't have to be spiritual, religious. It's universal. So I just talk about faith when I'm out there, faith and hope, and I do it with love. We do it with love, That's the only way you're going to do. That's the only way the world's going to change is with love, not with hate, not with all these wars. But if people would keep it so simple, that's the problem where we go wrong. We overthink things and we don't keep it simple. Keep it simple and just do the next right thing. And help your neighbor, help someone else. Smile. When you're walking down the street and see someone that's homeless or down, smile. They're having a bad day. Doesn't mean that they're just constantly like that. They could be having a bad day just like anybody else, and say hello, good morning. That can make a difference for someone for the whole day, if not even more. And it's so simple. It's amazing. I just, A, B, and C. Yeah.
Your story is so inspirational. I'm sure our listenership is just feeling inspired by your transformation personally, turning your woundedness inside out to serve and advocate and be a leader and really a kind of I want to say the yeast in the dough that's bringing about change. And I just find that very inspirational, and I thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. That means a lot.
I did want to ask you further. You have RISE, but then I also know you're on the board of the Street Medicine Institute. Tell us about that.
Yes, I forgot all about that little journey. I'm so sorry.
That's right.
That happened, of course, in a crazy manner, just like everything else in my life. So my life evolves around chaos. I'm used to it. So everything is always going to be like not the norm. So SMI board. I was with my street medicine team, and we had gone to the ISMS in Toronto, and we were sitting there in one of the breakout rooms. I remember I had my boss next to me and two other coworkers, and we were listening to Brett Feldman and Joseph do their thing about street medicine and CHWs, and it was very interesting. They put on a great presentation in the breakout room, and it was over. And all of a sudden, Liz Fry, the chair and part of the board member of the SMI. Because, okay, let me backtrack. We had done a virtual panel that we were accepted for, they were looking for people to do presentations the year before, but it was virtual still in 2021. So we had done it from our office in Hayward about across homelessness across the spectrum and different things like that. So we had a panel of lived experience people, and then facilitators was myself and two other. Liz was my boss at the time, and another person. So I was on both the facilitator side and the panel side. So she had remembered, I guess, my name, or remembered me from that panel from the year before. So she came walking up after the break, after Brett was done. We were still sitting there, and she goes, Melissa. And I remember, I knew who she was. I'm like, oh, Miss Fry, And she goes, just call me Liz. I'm like, okay, Liz. She sat down and she started talking. And then she goes, we have a position on the board that's open that we'd love to fill with someone with lived experience. And I thought of you, and I was talking to the other board members, and we were hoping that you were going to be here, and would you be interested? The look on my face must have been classic. I don't even know. Because the look on my boss's face was classic. I looked at her, her jaws dropped. Her eyes were big. I was like, okay, you're no help. I was like, sure. Complete shock and awe. Sure, of course I would be. And so we exchanged emails, and she walked away. I was still in shock. My boss almost fell off her chair. I'm like, Emily, get up. Get up. He's okay. Can you breathe? I don't know if I can, but can you? And then we went back to the Bay Area, and I got an email from her. And so she walked me through the process, and I applied, and they had an interview, over Zoom with a couple of them. And then I remember it was June of 2023. I was voted out into the board members of the Street Medicine Institute with Dr. Withers, whom I idolized, and now I'm sitting there on the same board. It was like surreal, the whole process. I was like, I'm here now, and this is crazy. Because I remember when I met Dr. Withers, Jim, in Toronto, I remember looking at him, I told my group, I said, there's Dr. Withers over there. He was sitting there at the registration table. I said, I'm going to go over and say hi to him. They're like, you are? And I'm like, yes, I am. I went and shook his hand. I'm like, it's an honor, Dr. Withers. I almost felt like curtsying. And he just looked at me and goes, oh, thank you. It's nice meeting you. I ran back to my group. I'm like, oh my gosh. I shook his hand. He talked to me. Little or no, henceforward, I was going to be on the board of directors. I didn't even know that then. I was
Yeah.
before she came to me that day. And then we had our retreat in Pittsburgh this year, and we got to stay at his house. So here I am at his house, talking to him like a...
Did he make you sourdough pancakes?
He did.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, he did.
That's his specialty for
Yes, it
hospitality.
is. And I did not know that. And they talked about it. I was like, sourdough pancakes? That just kind of sounds strange to me. They were phenomenal.
Our listenership are all going to want to go visit Dr. Jim
Right?
Withers and get some good pancakes.
Yes, they were phenomenal.
Yeah. Melissa, let me ask you. Your story is so remarkable, and you are just so passionate, and you've got such fierce leadership and advocacy skills, obviously. And in your story, I was aware that other people were recognizing that they were putting you forward. They were saying, "Okay, you lead us, because we see in you something unique, special, powerful." And I just want to, again, honor you for that. I'm going to ask you to speak to our leadership for a moment. What is one piece of advice you would give to the listeners of the Streetside podcast on how to make the world a better place?
How to make the world a better place? Oh, wow. There's so much, but solidarity and just... I think that the world and the society forgets how we've lost our humanity. It's a very much an entitleistic mentality these days, and people just don't care. They're not doing it through love anymore. They're just doing it for agendas, and the agendas are for themselves. It's people have lost their humanity. That's what I keep telling people. And nobody stands up for anybody else. It's all about me, And now with the current situation in the U.S., especially with the grants passed, and now different people sweeping camps, and just within the homeless community, now there's not even any protection there. And I can't even advocate like I could because that's been kept swept out from under my feet, especially in our state. Gavin Newsom ordered an executive order sweeping the camps. Doesn't matter if there's any shelter or not. And I'm thinking, well, that's really helping out a lot. We're just going to play a whack-a-mole game now with people in their lives and re-traumatize them. So. I mean, just across the world, just the re-traumatization of people, vulnerable populations and it's not getting anywhere. It's just a circle of insanity. And so what are we doing? There's an International Bill of Human Rights that was drafted in 1948. The U.S. signed on to it. And if you read it, it just basically lays out basic, simple human rights laws that should be followed. I mean, they're basic humanity laws. And we signed on to it, and we re-signed on to it, I believe, in 2021. Last year they did a report card across whoever signed on to what country. We got a D, not a B, but a D for compliance, and I believe that because just the state of our whole entire nation, and not just homelessness, but just in general, it's so much different than when I was growing up, and not in a good way. The party lines are drawn, this or that, battles. Nobody's cohesive, and there's no us anymore. Together we stand, divided we fall. No, it's divided we stand, together we fall. Or it's backwards. I can't remember how it goes, but it's just too much humanity and love and simpleness, and just go back to the basics. And that's what I wish. And that's what my hope is, my dream is. But if we'll ever achieve that as a global community, that's far-fetched. But even as a country, or even as a local, like within the city and counties that you're in. That's where I start, because it's simple. It's an easy level for me to start at. And I try to talk to, I talk to a lot of cities and county officials and a lot of entities, and I try to get them to understand that, and just love, and where's the humanity? Just remember your humanity. Remember to help your neighbor. That's what this nation is based on. Just being united and democracy, and doing the next right thing, for God's sake. That's so easy. Keep it simple. Do the next right thing. Don't shun someone just because they don't have a house, because there's circumstances. You could be that person. Have some compassion. Have some love.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Last question for this interview is going to be, how can our listenership connect with you or support your work? What would you ask of our listeners to do to support you and support your work?
That's a good question. Definitely, we are not. Actually, we are still. I've been 501c3 for a little over, about a year and a half now, close to a year and a half, and I'm still haven't been able to get any grant funding because I don't have a grant writer. So we do this with in-kind donations and with just people helping us and volunteer work. Support would be phenomenal. I have a GoFundMe, my Facebook page. We don't have a web page yet, but I have my Facebook page, and it's under my name, Melissa Moore. I guess you could just look it up under Castro Valley, California, if you need to. I have a LinkedIn page, and We have fundraisers on that. Also, just going forward. I mean, we would love any. Oh, and I have an Amazon wish list. I mean, anything would help. Any $5 would help. Anything would help. Move us forward. We're working on trying to get a grant writer. We're working on some simple grants. It takes time, and we're doing it as best we can. And I fully believe and have faith that it'll come through, or else I wouldn't still be doing this. And I believe in what I'm doing. So I know it's gonna come into fruition when it's supposed to. That's definitely need some support though, and just in general, just support if you can't financially support prayers, and just treat the people, treat your neighbors, your unhoused, just with kindness, and to help them, uplift them. It doesn't even need to be through us, and just you can do it yourselves. You can rally your community to do it. Just that's what I would ask for people. Just prayers. If you can financially donate, that would be amazing. And if you can't, just do the next right thing and uplift someone that you see.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I've just enjoyed this time with you, and I feel inspired to embrace our common humanity and solidarity and love. And you've just raised up the whole love barometer of the planet with what you've spoken. So thank you so much, and I wish you all the best in your work.
And thank you so much, and thank you for having me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for being on Streetside, and thank you to our listeners.
The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individuals included and are not representative of the opinions of the Street Medicine Institute or the Street Medicine Institute Student Coalition. Do not use this podcast as medical advice, and instead see your own provider for medical care.